the FCT now has a new sheriff in town. I'm talking about former Governor Nyesom Wike, who has just emerged and sworn in as the FCT Minister. And we'll be talking about his inaugural speech and the hope agenda. Is he going to align with what the FCT people really want? When Wike takes charge, what should we expect? Are we seeing flyovers and bridges happening in the FCT? We'll be talking about that with our political correspondent from Vanguard newspaper, Omeiza Ajayi. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
You're welcome. Yes. Thanks for having me.
At this point, we'll just go join a short clip of the media parley that the FCT Minister had yesterday with a media correspondent who will be talking about, to listen to him as to the plans that he has for the FCT.
Mr. President, actually, President Tinubu, the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he has directed that we must hit the ground running. We have the mandate from Mr. President and Vice President. Of course, he knew during his campaign, which he titled, "We Need Hope." Most Nigerians must have lost hope. And the essence of "we need hope" to say, no, you should not lose hope. And he is coming to make Nigeria a better place. And having given us the mandate to give a different narrative as far as FCT is concerned, giving us the marching order, we must bring the FCT back what it's supposed to be. And we are willing and we have the capacity to do that. And that is why we have come to tell members of the media we are not going to joke. It is not going to be business as usual. So many people have complained that FCT have lost focus. So many people have complained this is not the FCT they know. This is not the FCT of the founding fathers. It is not the FCT that we thought would compete with other cities of the world. And now is the time that we must show that we really mean that Federal Capital Territory Abuja should be one of the cities that competed with other cities of the world. We cannot do it alone. We need the support of everybody, particularly the media. Security has gone down. This is supposed to be one of the safest places. This is one of the places where people say, look, I'm going on holiday. Let me go to FCT. Is it what it is today? So, first of all, the issue of security must be tackled. We are ready to provide the necessary logistics to all the security agencies to do their work. This is not my first time of having meetings with security agencies. I've done that when I was governor of the state. So I know I'm not going to be told. The rest will be when I discuss, I want to have Security Council meeting. Then the minister will tell them, these are things we know. These are things we are doing. Because we know the problems. We cannot go and identify the criminals. It is their duty. Our own duty is to provide them the necessary tools. And when I provide the necessary tools, I don't want any excuses. I don't want to hear, oh, this happened and that didn't happen. Because you have requested for the tools you want to use to work. And it has been provided. So what we want is result. In a city, People are selling with umbrellas under the 3,000. These things cause insecurity. How? You see somebody under umbrella selling, and you see a man coming as if he's trying to buy something, not knowing that he's an informant. He calls his people. He has entered. She has just gone out now. No, we can't allow it. All those people who are distorting the master plan of Abuja, too bad, too bad. If you know you have built where you're not supposed to build, it will go down. It will go down. Be a minister of anywhere, be an ambassador. If you know you have developed where you're not supposed to develop, your house must go what? Down. Those who have taken over the green areas to build, sorry, our parks must come back. The green areas must come back.
Okay, the program continues. This is Nyesom Morning, and of course, we just had the speech from the new sheriff in town in the FCT. And of course, we said we're going to be having this conversation today and discussing this with us this morning. Joy has introduced him, is Omeiza Ajayi, who is a political analyst, a political correspondent with the Vanguard newspaper. So once more, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
Okay, so nobody's shocked. Wike has been blowing hot and hot and hot and hot. Yeah. And of course, it's his usual way of delivering his message. It's his usual way of just, he doesn't have that finesse that he wants to color-code it. He just goes straight to the point, he takes the hammer, and he's hitting the nail. Should we be worried in the FCT?
No, I don't think there is any cause for alarm. There is no need to be worried. For me, it's a welcome development, and I think that is what we need right now in the body politic. You need somebody who can speak and at the same time walk his talk. He delivers his messages forcefully, and most times from what we saw in Rivers, he also merged those words with actions. So from the things he rolled out, he actually rolled out a 10-point agenda. And the way he spoke, you know that this is a man with experience. He was mentioning areas, even some areas in the outskirts. I didn't know that he had such knowledge of the city.
The city already.
Already, you know. So the way he was talking about the areas, activities of vandals in relation to manholes and manhole covers and all that, we saw in him a man who was ready, to set the ball rolling. And he actually sounded a note of warning to those who are going to be working with him.
Sorry.
He said he'll give them the money to work. But that if he gives you money and you don't deliver, he will embarrass you. Because he will come to the public and say, I'm giving this man 1 billion naira to do this. And he has not done it.
Let's talk about one issue that has, unfortunately, been the bane of the FCT. He called it land speculation. But beyond land speculations, we've seen a lot of demolition going on. And there have been speculations, even though not founded, no prosecution has been done. But there's a lot of inside dealings with even members or staff of the FCDA, when it comes to, selling land to people, lands on waterways, illegal lands on green areas. They do sell. People get some of the papers or documents that they need. Should that be something that Wike should also be extensively looking at? Because you can have civil servants cohorting with other people to dupe the public. And we've seen a lot of that. We've seen demolitions where residents, estates come out and they say, but they gave us the paper. We have the document. We got the document. It's legitimate. And they say, no, we've had even guests on this program that say, no, you have to go and check on the computer. And most people don't know all this nitty-gritty. You have documents that look legitimate. You buy your properties, you develop, you make estates or your personal houses. And then a few years later down the drain, when power changes, which is what we're seeing now, the new person comes in and there's a lot of demolition, and the residents in the FCT are the ones bearing the rot. So how should Wike be tackling this issue that has just been continuous in the FCT?
Well, he talked about land speculators. It is a challenge that is difficult to handle because a lot of people are businessmen. Some people buy land to resell. just the way some buy tomatoes or beans, store them, and then during the period of drought, they now resell. People also buy land cheaply from others and then keep such lands and then resell maybe after 5 years. But I want to think that when he talked about land speculators, he was talking about speculating of lands in areas that already has infrastructure. For instance, in Maitama 2, where they've opened up, they are building the infrastructure, I would not expect land speculators to begin to move into that place. But in areas like far-flung back of Karishi, where you don't have infrastructure, I don't know how you are going to stop speculators in those places, because those who are buying land there, many of them are even using them for farming, But the point you rightly made about civil servants conniving with some of these, I'll call them land grabbers, selling land. We've had such case in Kubwa where about 3 people were laying claim to one land, and both of them produced what looked like the original R of O for that land. So it's, in fact, they had to take that issue up. It was in court. They had to summon officials of the administration to identify which one was the original, which one did they have in their own backup system. And we've had one case in Amak also, because most of these issues actually happen, most of them, I would say 80%, actually happen at the level of area councils, area council land allocation. Although now we have something like Actress, which is like a unified system between the area council and the FCT administration. But I recall that one time we had an incident under Amak, and a lot of people, about 5, were laying claim to one plot of land. And the man who signed the documents had resigned. In fact, when the court summoned him, he came in a wheelchair. He had retired, not resigned. He came in a wheelchair because he was very old. And they were when they were cross-examining him, they were showing the document. Baba, did you sign this one? He nodded yes. Did you also sign this one? He said yes. So how did you sign 5 documents for one? So he did that as a civil servant. So we have such cases, and I believe those are the kind of people that the new minister will want to flush out of the system. I've asked development control severally, and they've not been able to provide answers, because we on this side, that's the media, part of our job is to sensitize the public, to sensitize the residents and say, don't go and buy land in this area. Development control, they've often talked about Lube, that there is a plan for urban renewal of Lube, and that people should be careful how they buy land in those places, that most of the estates along that stretch have no proper documentation. And I've asked them, what does it take you to list out these estates, that have faulty documentation? Just list them out.
Put out the information, yes.
Publish them so that the public will know. It's not going to buy and then tomorrow after building.
Trademore is a very good example.
Exactly.
They're still in court. They're speculating. Should we demolish? We should not demolish. We see what the flood has been doing.
I've seen some of their papers, because I went there when the issue was hot. Then you don't come after like 10 years. Maybe because there is a challenge, or so to speak, or there is a new person at the helm of affairs, and then you begin to want to punish the people there. I think whatever we are doing, there should be a human element, human face to whatever.
Exactly. But he also mentioned security, and it was disheartening to hear somebody from, I think, Kuje, who told us that there's kidnappings going on almost on a daily basis.
Exactly.
And that we're gradually seeing a lot of those things that would very often be from far away come into the FCT. So he talked about security. He also said he will have a meeting with the security architecture and that handle the FCT. But what do you think he should start looking out for immediately?
As humans, we have a tendency of thinking that what is happening there will never happen here.
Close to us, yes.
Now, when we had suicide bombers in Afghanistan, some of these other countries, we never thought
exactly until we had the Madala.
You understand? Because in Nigeria, we love life. we love life, want to live. We could not imagine 20 years ago that a Nigerian would wear a suicide vest to go and kill himself for just for nothing, But it is here with us. Same way, kidnappings, abductions.
Right.
It was along Kaduna Road. In fact, before then, it was in the northwest.
Yes.
Then they now came to Abuja, Kaduna Road. We felt that, okay, they will be tackled until the train was attacked, the Abuja, Kaduna train. And now they are in Abaji, Kwali, Kuje, and even in Boari, Kubwa.
We're hearing very saddening stories.
Kubwa is the largest suburban town in the FCT.
In the FCT, yes.
So if you have kidnappings around the fringes of Kubwa, in fact, sometimes not even the fringes. There was a time somebody was kidnapped in F01. F01 is like the GRA of Kubwa, which is also around where you have the army scheme. You have soldiers living, But these guys went there and picked up a man. In fact, whether they used dynamite, they used something to break down the door and forcefully moved him away. In Ushafa, the same thing. So it's not just what is happening in Kuje, like the person you quoted rightly said, it's almost on a daily basis. Kuje and Kwali axis. And why is this happening?
Exactly.
We used to have the G7 Security Committee, the FCT and 6 contiguous states to the FCT. Kogi, Niger, and Plateau, Benue, But at a point, for several years, that security arrangement was inactive. It became dead until the PAMSEC, Mr. Olushade, when he held sway for 2 months, he decided to revive it. He revived it, brought the commissioners of police, director of security, NSCD's commander from these states, and they've been meeting. And I think they still have one more meeting before the end of the year. So I am hopeful that with Wike, still with this same PAMSEC who revived it, that they are going to be working in synergy, continue in that line. Because in Kogi State, for instance, where the governor, apart from the conventional security, is also working with vigilance teams and hunters, sometimes when they push these guys, they come towards here.
Yes, I agree with you.
They come towards this side. And if there is no counter force to now put them in the middle and take them out or neutralize them, they just
relocate
and then mingle with the people here. Look at what happened in Kuje, the attack on the custodial center in Kuje. Intelligence reports after the incident, what we discovered was that those people were around there's this village where they said there were killing of trees before, very close to that custodial center in Kuje. What we heard was that these guys came there in bikes. They stayed there. Some stayed for more than 1 month. Yes, doing recce, going around. They normalized their stay in that environment. They were coming to buy recharge cards from a phone booth close to the custodial center. They were just doing their surveillance.
They were staking the place.
You understand?
Yes, it was a stakeout.
Nobody did anything. The access road from that Kuje to Gwagwalada, there's a link road inside.
Yes, exactly.
It's a no-go area once it is 6-7 p.m. For those who used to go and drink, some of my friends used to go and drink palm wine there.
They have the best palm wine and bushmeat, by the way.
Around that is
No.
You are an initiate. I know.
I don't drink palm wine, so I wouldn't even go there. It upsets me, my stomach. But let's talk about something that is really very glaring in the FCT. It's the project. That's our new FCT minister. And of course, it's something you can argue about.
Yes.
He did a lot of projects in Rivers State. He actually said it yesterday. In 4 years, he had built 12 bridges. And of course, he was proud to say he had used people like Julius Berger to do some. So Julius Berger, you're talking of standard. So he built standard bridges. And if you come to the FCT and look at it, of course, there's a possibility that the FCT can be the Dubai of Nigeria.
Exactly.
It's what people are expecting to get there. But what we see mostly in Nigeria across the states is urbanization. And unfortunately, urbanization is not just enough. We have to do a word like ruralization. We have to start developing those rural areas, those Abaji, that Kuje, that Buari, those outskirts. So one, you have less population in the urban area because people don't need to migrate to look for what they're looking for. So do we see Wike not just building bridges in the FCT capital, like, the Maitama, the Asokoro, the places that we see? And should we be expecting those kind of developments in those hinterlands in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure, and, possibly build it globally within the FCT and not just focus in the bourgeois areas, Asokoro, Mitama, that's where you have all the, big buildings.
Yeah, as governor of Rivers, though I'm not his spokesperson, but as governor of Rivers, when he was governor, I was in Rivers, I was in Port Harcourt, Obiapo, Echi, and some other places. And I discovered that he didn't concentrate development in Port Harcourt City local government area alone. Developments were widespread.
Okay.
And there was something he said yesterday that was very instructive, that the person in charge of transportation should keep his records straight. That because he's going to ask him where are the Abuja mass transit buses. He said so.
Yeah.
Because to him, people should be able to commute, from easily from the suburbs to the city center
and back.
without people necessarily trying to live in areas that are already crowded.
Yes.
So now, with that in mind, if you have an effective transportation system, you have a good security architecture in place, developments will spread. He talked about city sanitation without just restricting it to the city center alone, the Federal Capital City, SCC. He was talking about the FCT generally, mentioning areas like Abaji, Wagwalada. So if a minister is talking about sanitation and talking about areas that are so far-flung, it means he plans to spread development to those areas. We are hoping that the Abuja Light Rail, I learned Nigeria has started repaying the loan for a project that is not yet working. It's not generating money. Because it is from the money, the revenue that is generating, that we're supposed to be paying the loan. But we have already started paying the loan on that Abuja Light Rail when it has not been put to use. That is even the first, is it Lot C, the one that goes from the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport to around the Churchgate Towers at the central area. Because the light rail is supposed to link several areas, even link Suleja, those coming from Suleja to the city, Abaji. There are a lot of linkages. So I'm hoping that being somebody who has been tested, because he was a minister here, Minister of State
Education.
Then at a point, he became the substantive Minister of Education for a short period. So I believe,
he
like he said,
to go to his campaign. Yes,
I believe, like he said yesterday, he understands how to deal with politicians as governors, and having been a minister before,
we know that.
he also said he knows.
Does he understand how to deal with civil servants?
No, he said so yesterday.
Yeah, it's one thing to say, but it's another thing to do. So do you think that, especially since we all know that, former governor, His Excellency, how do you address him now? Well, His Excellency Honorable.
He's Honorable Minister.
So it's a mouthful for me. But yeah, the Honorable Minister of the FCT has his own approach to things. And beautiful speech. It's inspiring for people on the right side that everybody wants sanity in Abuja one way or the other. But do you think that he should be toning it down a bit, especially when you take into cognizance that quite a lot of Nigerians are dealing with a lot on their tables right now? We have the fuel subsidy removal. You just talked about transportation. It's taking half of people's income from what they're earning. Do you think we should be looking at this more subtle minister, tone it down a bit?
No, not really. When you are dealing with officials who are to implement your agenda, you have to be tough. You have to give them clear instructions. This is what you want, and they must deliver. Now, it is different from the way you approach the ordinary man on the street. Yesterday, when he was addressing the media, he was also addressing officials. The directors were there. The PAMSEC was there. So he had to tell them, in loud and clear terms, this is who I am, you all know me, and this is what I'm going to do. So now when he's going to relate with the resident, like he said, he's going to be meeting with various stakeholders.
Yeah.
He's not going to be talking tough, that way. Of course, he will still maintain his stance, but of course he will listen to, I believe he's going to listen because he has listed a lot of stakeholders, relevant stakeholders that he's going to be consulting with. And I believe he will still consult even with the media. Yesterday was not a consultation with the media.
Yes.
It was just a maiden press conference, a parley, so to speak, because we're just trying to break the ice, trying to know ourselves the ice today. So I'm hoping that in the coming days, he will still meet, because the media is a critical stakeholder.
He actually mentioned that, yes.
Yes, that he will still meet, because nobody will tell him the truth, except those of us on this side. Because our allegiance is to Nigeria and Nigerians, and not to anybody.
Exactly. But let's talk about something dicey that he touched, which is the cattle
grazing, open grazing.
Yeah, open grazing that happens in the FCT. It defaces the aesthetics. That's a no-brainer. However, it's been a very touchy subject considering the caliber of people that often own these cows. So do you think he would succeed in his bid to ensure that the cows be taken to the hinterlands and not having to see cows graze on the streets
I
of
should
Abuja?
think that he will succeed. I've not heard that Mr. President Bola Tinubu has cattle. I've not heard of that.
Was that supposed to be a sarcasm?
Well, if your boss is a cattle rearer, and you have cattle around the villa, there is little you can do. You understand?
Yeah.
We've had a situation before now, some years back, where we had cattle around the villa.
Not long ago, actually.
So if the president does not have that, I think it's going to be very easy. He's going to be consulting with them.
But is it enough for him to just say it? Shouldn't you be looking at or exploring bills, acts?
Already, there is
that bans open
ban
grazing
on open cattle grazing. And this is why the task force on city cleaning and all that, most times they still go along the airport road and arrest these guys. They do that. It's just that it is not every day. But once in a while they go, they impound their cows and all that. They do that. They've been doing even before Wike came on board. They've been doing that.
Well, they haven't come to my estate. That much I can tell you.
Of course.
Yes,
of course.
because you see them roaming around.
But with a minister that is ready to give the task force that spine and probably expand the task force to be able to have not just embark on patrol along the airport road, but within the FCC where they are banned from open grazing. I think he's going to achieve a lot. He said he will meet with the herdsmen, the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association. He will meet with them. And then, of course, they are going to be having discussions. Because the grasses in the city center, most of them were deliberately planted, like he said, for aesthetics. Not wild grasses that
cows should graze on. But my question would be, what's the alternative for these people? Because it's one thing to say, we don't want to see you around here. We all need these cows eventually. But what's the alternative?
Ranching.
Of course, ranching is an alternative. Yeah. The new national chairman of APC, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, as governor of Kano State, I think a few weeks before he left, organized a national conference on nomadic cattle rearing and all that. And one of the resolutions, he has been a strong, he's a Fulani man, has been a strong advocate of cattle ranching, that the present system is not sustainable. But Wike has not even, like he said, he has not even gone to that party. He's saying, don't come to areas where open grazing, where there's a ban on open grazing. You can stay in the outskirts where the ban is not in place. But within the FCC, forgotten is it 200 and something square kilometer FCC now. Now, there is a ban. Don't come here. You are going to the villa and then you are seeing cattle. You are going to the airport. It's an expressway. What is supposed to be the speed limit on that expressway? Yeah, last week, I think Thursday, I was going to pick my niece from the airport who was coming for youth service. I ran into them. You know, I was careful enough. I had to put on my double indicator, but I was scared of those coming behind me.
You, exactly.
They might not know what's happening here. What if somebody just
runs into you?
Yes, run into me.
Yeah.
So,
we've seen several videos of how the cows would.
Yes, we have a colleague, one of our colleagues, a journalist, whose father died in an accident with a cow.
Well,
while riding a bike.
That's really very sad.
Not to mention, I saw videos where you are even parked for the cows to pass, and your side.
We're almost like India,
because sometimes the cows. Even when they are going, sometimes you see one very stubborn cow that is just jumping here and there, as if something has one spirit has entered into.
Like they say, the mad cow.
Let's talk about taxation, because the new sheriff in town, the FCT Minister, had mentioned taxation. The FCT needs to generate revenue. He talked about, land rates and all those things that people need to see. And I know that the permanent secretary, Olushade, has also been emphatic in driving the revenue for the FCT. I know a few months back they had a summit, and just to harmonize, taxes, revenue collection, to have it in one central point, as opposed to having multiple taxations, which is part of the problems that so many businesses have in Nigeria. How do you think this administration and the FCT should go about? One, agreed generating taxes. Two, without generating taxes to the point where it actually breaks the people, and there's a synergy and should I dare say a use of technology in even collating these taxes for the FCT.
Okay, now when there was that summit, I think last month.
It was last month or 2 months ago.
About 2 months ago.
Okay.
It was in Kwara, I think, yeah.
No, after that one. No, after the Akure Accord.
Yes.
After the Akure Accord, they came to Abuja, there was a press briefing. Then they had another event, I think last month.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, at that event, the consultant who came to deliver something like the lead presentation at the event cited the example of a pharmaceutical shop, not a big pharmaceutical shop. I was trying to look for that on my phone. The lady received about 12 tax demands, different demands for a small pharmaceutical shop. So you can now understand when Augmentin that used to be around maybe 3,000.
It's about 9,000.
That is even cheap in your area. If it is
wow. I haven't bought it in a while. The last time I did was about 8,000.
In some places as high as 15,000.
Augmentin?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, in some places it used to be very cheap. So, but with that kind of tax demands, theft tax for a small pharmaceutical shop, it is the average citizen that bears the brunt of such, and the owner of Abaji, who was represented by Sarkin Gabas of Abaji, like he rightly said, he said those who are collecting this revenue should have the fear of God and do it with a human face. I believe as much as Wike want to generate a lot of revenue, FCT is already generating a lot, and I think his first focus in that area should be, like he said, one of his 10-point agenda is plugging revenue leakages.
Right.
If he's able to plug the loopholes, the leakages, so that some of this money that used to end up in some private hands will now be remitted to the right coffer and not just in private hands. If he's able to plug all these loopholes, I think you will have achieved at least 50% in the area of revenue collection. After plugging the loopholes, you can now sit down, begin to look at, there is a harmonized formula, even though one of the councils, the municipal, seem to have pulled out of that arrangement, that they had with the FCT administration. That's AMAC. But I believe with Wike on board, you will be able to also bring them back on board so that there is a harmonized template. Because you have a lot of businesses in AMAC. That is the city center.
Yeah.
So there might be need for some form of maybe presidential backing or presidential intervention, and of course legislative backing from the National Assembly to ensure that this is done right. Not that the area councils are collecting one revenue subhead, and then the FCT administration will still come and charge residents for that same revenue subhead. So there should be that harmonization. And I believe he's going to be able to do that. Let's
explore the primary health sector, because, yes. Primary health care centers, I know he's not the Minister of Health, so that should be the minister's sole focus, but we don't have enough functional primary health care centers in the FCT. You might find a major hospital, General Hospital in Wuse, in Metama and Asokoro. You have those ones that are functional. But the whole idea of primary health centers is if Ifunanya is living in Lokogoma, yes, she doesn't need to go beyond that axis to get access to good, cheap, quality healthcare. Should that also be something that we should be holding the FCT Minister to account for, that we have to ensure that these primary health centers for residents in the FCTA are accessible to them? They can go there, not they go there and then the only thing they have is paracetamol. You know, you have to drive, especially when you take into the cognizance the network or the transportation of Abuja. You see someone living in Cuba, he's driving all the way to Zone 4 because that's where his hospital is. Or someone living in Maraba, he has to come all the way into town because he's going to, Asokoro General Hospital. Should the FCT Minister also look into this very critical aspect of the residents in the FCT?
Yes, I agree with you that the PHCs are down, primary healthcare centers. I know one of our friends, when the wife went into labor one night, and the closest place to him was the primary healthcare center. Mm-hmm. And he took the woman there. Of course, she was delivered. There was no issue. But many of us, after that episode, many of us felt he risked the life of his wife.
Of everybody, even his own sanity.
You understand? Yes. Because of the level of distrust that we have in our primary healthcare centers. Mm-hmm. We have 249 primary healthcare centers in the FCT. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Scattered around the 6 area councils. Now, how many wards do you have? You have about, I think, 68 wards, electoral wards in the FCT. So if you have 249 primary healthcare centers, you divide it by the wards, it means in each of the wards you have at least 3 or 4. Now, but out of these 249, thankfully, the health secretary, though he has gone now, you have a civil servant acting now as mandate secretary of Health and Human Services. Within 18 months, he said they were able to make clinical interventions in about 83 of 249. Well, it is good within 18 months, but for 83 from 249, you see that we still have a long way to go.
We haven't even stayed scratching the surface.
And according to him, when I spoke with him, he said, according to the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, these primary healthcare centers are supposed to be given at least 300,000 naira every month.
To run it?
Yes, every month. To run it, buy diesel and some of those other stuff.
Well, in all truthfulness, if they're honest, that can run it.
But they don't even get that. You understand? The Basic Healthcare Provision Fund is like a universal template to say, okay, this is the ideal, this is what should be done. But they don't even get that. But even now, with the exchange rate, even if a primary healthcare center gets 300,000, it's still not with fuel. If you are going to be fueling the place, it's not going to be easy. It's not sustainable. Yes. Yet, they are not even getting the 300,000 naira. And like the man said, they require about $22 billion, not naira, $22 billion to revitalize the 249 primary healthcare centers in the FCT. And that was why last month they reached out to members of the public that, please, if you have something that you can give to us to boost activities at the primary care centers, please do. You don't have to give them money.
Exactly.
He said if it is a borehole you want to sink, you can come. They give you the specifications that, okay, these are the specifications. then you bring your own contractor and then you do it. Even if you want it named after you, they can put your name there.
No problem.
You
Just
know,
as long as it works.
exactly. If you want them
yes.
to recruit more staff in that place, and then you'll be just like in some schools where the Parent Teachers Association pays some teachers, and then you'll be responsible for paying the nurses in that place. It's also fine and good. So they are calling on well-meaning individuals. We have a lot of Nigerians who have money who don't know what to do with this money.
Oh, really?
We have a lot of buildings in
Do you know
FCT.
where they are? Because I know what to do with money.
Just go around. You see houses with only the security
Now
guard.
that will be the final question. We have the cost of living in Abuja is extremely expensive, especially when you're talking about house rent for so many Nigerians in the FCT, so many residents in the FCT.
Mine has just been increased.
I think I will hit your landlord for you on your behalf, but then I can imagine because your salary I know hasn't been increased. But when we're looking at housing in the FCT, that's a major issue.
Yes.
We have a lot of unoccupied buildings. Just on this Katampe, between driving from here down the way, all the way till you get to maybe Astor Villa axis, uncompleted buildings. I mean, unoccupied.
Both of them, even.
But the one that is even more worrisome is the unoccupied.
Yes.
You see people, I don't know whether it's the way of siphoning government funds. They just build houses. People can't pay the rent. They're not even interested in getting tenants there. And I love when he said it yesterday, you can't take a place and you're not developing it and then you keep it at ransom. We'll revoke those kind of places. Should he also be revoking those kind of estates? People build and then just dump it there all over. Go towards the airport, the railway line, that axis.
Yes.
So many unoccupied buildings around there. What should the FCT Minister be doing about buildings like that?
Well, that's a good, very good question. And, it's like engaging a woman for 10 years, not marrying her, not letting her go to go and, you build a house or you've been given a land, you have the money to build or you don't want to build. Maybe you just build it halfway, just leave it there. Or you build a house and it is not occupied. It is only the security man who is there.
And the rats and cockroaches.
And the rats and
yes.
From what the EFCC said, I can't remember which of their chairmen said that some of these houses are used for money laundering.
That's why I said here.
And that some of them, they also store money underground in some of these houses. There have been attempts in the past to have a property tax in the FCT. But of course, the owners of these buildings are very strong people who will always kick against such property tax. I do not know why it has been so difficult to ensure that we have property tax in Asokoro, Maitama. Let's start with those areas. Asokoro, Maitama,
the bourgeois area.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
Those areas. we have to. Let's start with those areas. There should be property tax. When somebody has 6 houses, but again, it's a matter of greed. I think we need to cut down on our greed. There was one lawmaker I knew before now. He had a house in Asokoro, had one in Maitama. Sometimes he'll be asking, so where should I go and sleep? And, nobody is chasing you. Stay in one house. How can you have a house in Asokoro? You have one in Maitama. Then you still have in Jabi. The same Abuja. And what building engineers have told us, if you have a building and nobody is living there,
it depreciates.
Because
it's like a vehicle.
This carbon dioxide that we breathe out, it's like we take in oxygen, bring out. So it's like there's interaction, a kind of interaction between humans living in a building and the structure itself, the non-living structure. So if there is nobody there, the quality of the building begins to fall. So I am hopeful that Wike, since people do not want to cut down on their greed, I am hopeful that Wike will be able, even if there is no property tax, he'll be able to work with the EFCC to ensure that some of these houses, the owners are found. And I believe some of us in the media, we may have to begin to look for funding from donor agencies like MacArthur Foundation and all that. Let's begin to unravel the owners of these houses, the owners of these structures, these unoccupied structures. It's very easy. to go to ages and sometimes figure who are the owners of this property. Let's know them and publish them. We should have a hall of shame for some of these people.
Hall of shame is a good way to go. Unfortunately, we've run out of time on the program, but Omeiza Ajayi, political correspondent, Vanguard newspaper, thank you so much for gracing our studio this morning. And that's how we wrap up this episode of Asa Morning. But of course, I'll say it, tomorrow is also another date, so we're looking forward to spending our morning hour with you. I'm Ifunanya Yvonne Amafili.
And I am Joy Asaye. Thanks for being part of the program. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a wonderful, productive day.